big substance. What was it? Micro.
Monoatomic mercury.
And you talk about earlier monoatomic is like a metal. I studied engineering too. I remember my metallurgy class.
Yeah. Metals. Yeah. Metals. You know, all the atoms are bound together in a grid of some type. And when it's monoatomic, the metals are not connected together, because what happens is when you zap them with certain energies, the electrons, for those of you into physics, the electrons on all of the metal atoms, they pull in real tight to the nucleus of the atoms, and it's like this. If you're sitting on a turntable and you got your arms out like this and somebody spins you, right? And you're going like this, and then you pull your arms in, you speed up.
Right.
When you do that at an atomic scale, that electron, that atom goes from being, actually the electrons that are spinning around it, switch from being an electron into being a photon. That is like a dog turning into a cat. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in physics, but it does happen. And when that happens,
Quantum physics?
it is quantum physics. And when those electrons pull in and that atom starts spinning super fast, and those electrons just turn into photons, which is light, and then they become superconductors, and they get all these weird properties, and they become Ormus.
So how did you feel when you were around that 5'2"?
I wasn't there.
Oh.
I saw pictures of it. And for those of you that want to check this out, you can go to YouTube or you can go to Google and search on Shiva Lingam. SHIVA LINGAM. Yeah. And you can actually see these yogis taking herbs and mixing herbs into liquid mercury with their hands. And it doesn't poison them because it turns into a monoatomic. And when it's in a monoatomic form, not only is it non-toxic, it's extremely healing. And I've met several people who have hung out with this yogi, and he made them mercury tea. He served them mercury tea. Monoatomic mercury tea.
What are some effects?
It radically enhances your consciousness. So it greatly expands your awareness. You get realizations, you get synchronicities. You ever done a sweat lodge?
Yeah.
Okay? What happens if you do a sweat lodge? You do a sweat lodge, and doesn't life kind of start taking on a new twist? Things start manifesting, things start happening, things change, things shift. That's what happens when you ingest these Ormus elements. Now here's the thing I'm going to warn people, because I tell people this all the time. There is natural Ormus and there are alchemical Ormus. And there are a lot of people out there teaching how to make alchemical Ormus. Bad idea. Because it's not a natural form of Ormus, and it will whack you. You guys remember the James Ray Sweat Lodge debacle out in Arizona, where this big guru that was in the movie The Secret, James Ray, who was this big teacher of how to create your reality and law of attraction and all that. He has a sweat lodge in Sedona. He has 64 people in a sweat lodge, charging him thousands and thousands of dollars. And 3 people died, and a whole bunch of people got sick and went to the hospital, and he got sued and went to jail and lost all his money. And wouldn't you know it, this is the kind of crazy Forrest Gumpian life that I have, wouldn't you know that that happened on the exact same day that I'm having a sweat lodge at my house with a Yaqui Indian chief, with about 40 people. But we weren't packing them in, and we weren't doing all the crazy stuff that James Ray was doing. But what James Ray didn't get was the power of consciousness. And this is what people that are telling you how to make alchemical Ormus don't get. They're usually young people, by the way, and they haven't played with this stuff enough. You can whack yourself big time, because what Ormus does is it shortens the time between thought and manifestation. So think about it this way. What if all of your dreams came true? And I mean, when you go to bed at night, everything you dreamt came true. Wouldn't be a pretty picture necessarily, would it? Right? It's like the more that you've worked on yourself, and the more that you've cleared yourself, and the more healing that you've done, and the more that you've gotten straight with life and yourself, then the less likely you're going to have a problem, right? But also, the less likely you are to need it. And the truth is that if you really have your act together, you don't need it. And if you don't have your act together, you better steer clear of it. However, you can get in these natural forms that will naturally enhance your awareness and your consciousness and uplift you and heal you and regenerate your tissue through photosynthesis and fermentation. That's easy. Sprouting, growing food, feeding your soil these microbes and these rock powders, taking a 5-gallon bucket and throwing turmeric and azomite and all these things into it. They're high in ormus, aloe, whatever. All these things that we know are high in ormus. Anything that's volcanic, throw it in there, ferment it, write it down, and you got yourself a high ormus natural brew that will not hurt you. And if you sit and do that, you'll start seeing a really cool expansion of your consciousness. You'll start seeing more and more synchronicities in your life, because that stuff is not just going to put ormus in your body. It's going to detoxify you, it's going to heal you, it's going to regenerate you, it's going to do all of these things. And so it's going to be this natural process. It's the stuff that all these people traditionally throughout history have taught us. It's nothing new. It's yoga, it's tai chi, it's qigong. It's eating right, it's eating live food, it's eating properly mineralized food, it's drinking spring water. It's doing all of these things. Meditation. When you meditate, what are you doing? You're sitting, calming down, quieting down, and you're focusing your consciousness, and you're creating a stronger scalar vortex. So what happens when you get together with a bunch of other scalar wave generators in a sweat lodge, in a circle? You create one big fat scalar vortex. And native people know this. This is why you don't go messing around with sacred ceremonies like that unless you know what you're doing and you follow their traditions. So I don't do these ceremonies myself. I call these people in who have it in their blood. They have the ancestry. They know this stuff. When I was hanging out with this Yaqui Indian chief, we had the best time, because he would say stuff like, the earth eats blood. The earth eats blood. And I go, oh, how cool. What does the blood have in it? It's got iron. It's got ormus iron. It's got all this ormus stuff. It goes into the soil. What does it do? It hits the crystals in the soil. They're oscillators, they're resonators, they're high in ormus. It rains on them. It puts this homeopathic frequency into the soil. So when women, for example, take their menstrual blood and mix it with water and they put it on their garden, they're homeopathically treating their soil. Native people know this stuff. So you don't have to worry about all this high-tech wizardry, blah, 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 blah. Organite. Just look at what ancient peoples have done throughout time. And just do that. We already know this stuff. It's common sense. You know? So, any other questions? We got to wrap it up. We got about 2 minutes. Yes?
This, you're familiar with Doug Morrison in the book How We Heal? Point holding for self-knowledge? Great. He's the first person I found out. Do you, anybody, I know these groups have been in the U.S. and